There's a question burning deep in the hearts of many men today, a question that echoes in late-night thoughts, in quiet frustration, in the weariness of rejection and games. How do I get her attention without losing myself? And that's exactly why you need to hear this message, because what you think is strength in chasing may be the very weakness that keeps you powerless. Stay with me, because before this speech ends, you will know how to reclaim your dignity, your identity, and your power without chasing anyone. Men have been lied to. Lied to by culture, by broken examples, and by desperate advice. We've been told that to be loved, you must chase. That to be respected, you must prove. That to be chosen, you must beg. But real power, the kind of power that shakes hearts, shifts atmospheres, and commands attention, it doesn't chase. It stands. The man who knows who he is doesn't run toward a woman's approval. He walks in the strength of his own standard. He understands that value is never loud, never desperate. Gold doesn't chase buyers. Diamonds don't beg to be worn. And kings? Kings don't leave their thrones to win the affection of the crowd. They sit, and the kingdom comes to them. If you want power over a woman, you must stop trying to impress her. Start trying to impress your future. Build something. Be something. Speak with truth, not tactics. And you'll find the moment you stop needing her, she'll feel it. And that shift in energy will either attract her soul or expose her intentions. Either way, you win. You see, women are not drawn to effort. They're drawn to essence. When a man knows his mission, he becomes magnetic. His time is guarded. His words are measured. His emotions are steady. He doesn't fear her silence, and he doesn't chase her presence. He understands that not every beautiful face deserves a seat in his sacred space. The man who rules his emotions rules his world. You gain power when you're not easily moved. When rejection doesn't break you. When games don't lure you. When silence doesn't shake you. Because real confidence isn't loud, it's consistent. And let me speak into the hearts of every man listening. Now, you were never created to chase validation. You were created to lead, to build, and to become. A woman will follow the man who is going somewhere. But if you're chasing her, you've already told her you're lost. So stop running. Stand firm. Find your purpose. Strengthen your discipline. Speak with conviction. And let the kind of woman who recognizes true power be the one drawn to your presence. Because the moment you stop chasing is the moment you become unforgettable. Most men are raised with the belief that their worth is proved through pursuit. That the more effort they show, the more validation they earn. That chasing a woman is a sign of strength, of courage, of masculinity. But I want to tell you a hard truth, one that confronts the foundation of that lie. Real men do not chase. Real men attract by who they are, not by what they perform. The chase is not a sign of power. It is often a sign of confusion, a man not yet rooted in his identity, still looking for someone else to complete what only purpose can fulfill. The problem is not that he desires connection. The problem is that he thinks chasing will give him value. The truth is, when you chase a woman, you elevate her and diminish yourself. You place her on the throne and hand her the crown of your self-worth. You make her the reward, the prize, the validation you seek, and in doing so, you give her all the power. But the man who refuses to chase is not cold, he is clear. He understands something deeper. He knows that when a man operates in his purpose, his vision speaks louder than his words. His actions carry weight. His energy cannot be ignored. He does not need to chase because his direction is magnetic. The same energy he once wasted trying to be chosen, he now uses to build something bigger than any momentary desire. Women don't fall for the man who runs after them. They fall for the man who is running after something greater than them. His mission, his destiny, his calling. The man who doesn't chase isn't passive. He's focused. He's disciplined. He's selective. And in that posture of restraint, of direction, of unwavering identity, he becomes powerful. The world has confused chasing with effort, but chasing is rooted in fear. It says, if I don't pursue her constantly, I'll lose her. Effort, on the other hand, is intentional and anchored. It comes from a place of fullness, not lack. The man who chases is trying to fill a void. The man who attracts is already full of purpose, full of identity, full of direction. Women are drawn to that kind of man, not the one panting behind her, desperate for validation, but the one ahead of her, blazing a path she wants to follow. And here's the powerful irony. When a man stops chasing, he becomes the one they begin to chase. Not because he's manipulating, not because he's withholding, but because his energy is rare, his presence is rooted, and his time is valuable. In a world full of noise and desperation, the man who moves with stillness and certainty becomes irresistible. Not because of how much he does, but because of who he already is. Power is not in chasing. Power is not in begging. Power is not in being loud, aggressive, or overly present. Power is in influence, and influence is quiet, steady, and undeniable. A man may have charm, wealth, or words, but if he lacks inner influence, the ability to move hearts without forcing, he will always be chasing, always seeking, always empty. Influence is when you walk into a room and don't have to speak, for people to feel your presence. It's when a woman's behavior changes not because you demanded it, but because your standards spoke louder than your voice ever could. The man who understands influence doesn't need to control anyone. His life, his focus, his peace, it sets a tone. It draws boundaries. It commands respect. Most men try to gain control through effort. They think if they do more, give more, prove more, they'll win her heart. But what they don't realize is that effort without direction becomes noise. And women don't follow noise, they follow energy. The strongest men in history, the ones who shaped kingdoms and shifted generations, didn't win power through desperation. They influenced. They stood firm. They weren't running around trying to convince everyone of their worth. Their character convinced the world for them. The same principle applies to how you deal with women. If you are constantly pursuing a woman's attention, you are already saying that she has more power than you. You are making her the leader and placing yourself in the position of the follower. But when you understand influence, everything changes. You speak less but say more. You show up less but are remembered more. You don't force connection. You allow it to develop through alignment. You don't try to be everything to her. You become something so solid that she has no choice but to take notice. Influence isn't about getting her to submit, to follow, or to please. It's about being so anchored in who you are that she feels safer near you than she does anywhere else. It's about having standards so high that she either rises to meet them or walks away. And either way, you remain unshaken. You must ask yourself, is your energy magnetic or is it desperate? Is your presence calming or is it chaotic? A man of influence doesn't need to argue or chase or convince. He simply lives. He moves with purpose. He speaks with clarity. His yes has weight. His no has direction. And in this energy, women are drawn not to what he says, but to who he is becoming. Influence is internal power. It's emotional mastery. It's spiritual depth. It's intellectual clarity. It's knowing that real power isn't found in how much she needs you. It's found in how little you need her to define you. Because when you become the source of your own strength, she either matches your frequency or disappears from it before any man can gain power over a woman. He must first gain power over himself. He must become rooted, anchored and unwavering in identity. Without identity, a man is like a leaf in the wind, drifting wherever affection blows, changing with every mood, every glance, every unanswered message. But a man of identity? He is the mountain in the storm. He does not beg to be seen. He does not chase to be chosen, because he knows who he is and he knows where he's going. Power doesn't begin with confidence in relationships. It begins with confidence in self. And that kind of confidence cannot be manufactured overnight. It is forged in silence, in solitude, in sacrifice. It is born when a man stops looking for completion in a woman and starts becoming whole in his mission. The problem with most men is not that they want love, it's that they want love before they've discovered who they are without it. They crave intimacy without ever having met the depth of their own soul. So they latch on to beauty, attention, validation, and they call it connection. But it's not connection, it's confusion. It's dependency. And dependency is the enemy of power. The man who knows himself is dangerous, not because he threatens others, but because he cannot be threatened. He's not afraid to lose her. He's not afraid to be alone. He's not afraid to walk away, because he doesn't measure his worth by who stays. He measures it by how faithfully he walks his path, regardless of who joins him on it. You must understand, identity is the foundation of attraction. A man who is rooted in identity draws others in without even trying. He becomes a mystery, not because he hides, but because he's not easily shaken. He listens more than he speaks. He acts with purpose. He doesn't broadcast his intentions. He lives them, and women feel that. They are drawn to a man who is rare, not reactive. A man who has a center, who doesn't crumble at rejection or lose himself in approval. A man who values his peace more than her attention. When a woman sees that you do not need her to complete you, she starts to view you differently, not as an option, but as a standard dot. And here's the truth. Until you know who you are, every woman will become a mirror you're trying to see yourself in. But when you find identity, you stop chasing reflections. You become the light. You stop asking, "What does she think of me?" and start asking, "Am I walking in the man I was born to be?" You stop trying to win her, and you start building a life that is already worth sharing. That's where power begins, not in the arms of a woman, but in the heart of a man who no longer needs to be held to feel whole. Power does not belong to the loudest voice or the quickest reaction. It belongs to the man who has mastered his emotions. The man who cannot govern himself will never influence anyone else. You cannot lead a woman, guide a relationship, or hold power in any dynamic if you are constantly at the mercy of your mood. Emotional control is not weakness. It is war, and the battlefield is inside you. A man who reacts to every text, every silence, every shift in tone is not in power. He is in panic. And panic is not attractive. It's not masculine. It's not strong. What draws a woman closer is a man whose peace cannot be disturbed by temporary discomfort. When you become unshakable, you become unforgettable. A woman will test your emotions, not because she is cruel, but because she is seeking something solid. She wants to know, can this man handle pressure? Can he stay calm when I cannot? Can he be the rock when I am the storm? If your emotions rise and fall based on how she treats you, then she knows one thing for certain. You are not leading, you are following her energy. And no woman respects a man she can emotionally control. You don't gain power by being perfect. You gain power by being consistent. Your strength is proven in how you respond when things don't go your way. Can you still speak with patience? Can you remain steady when ignored? Can you hold your ground when your feelings are wounded? The man who masters this is rare. And in that rarity, he becomes desirable. Most men lose power because they try to control women instead of controlling themselves. But the moment you try to control another person, you've already surrendered yours. Women are not drawn to domination, they're drawn to stability, and that comes from emotional maturity. When a man can sit in the silence, breathe through the tension and respond with intention instead of impulse, he becomes magnetic. He creates an energy that feels safe, not because he's passive, but because he's present. And presence is more powerful than pressure. You don't need to raise your voice, prove a point, or win an argument. You only need to show that you cannot be moved by temporary emotions, yours or hers. Every time you feel the urge to overreact, pause. Every time you want to prove something, be still. Every time you're tempted to chase validation, remember, kings don't run after anyone. They sit in silence and let time reveal who is worthy to enter their presence. And if you can lead your own emotions, you will begin to lead your relationships without ever demanding it. Because leadership is not control, it is example. And when your example is grounded in peace, purpose, and patience, no woman can look away without noticing something different, something stable, something strong. A man who is always available becomes invisible. When you are too easy to reach, too quick to respond, too eager to give, your value begins to fade. Not because you are not worthy, but because you've made yourself common. And what is common is never craved. Scarcity breeds value. It's a truth woven into every part of life. We chase what we believe we might lose. We desire what feels rare. We hold tighter to what is not always within reach. And if you want to be the kind of man who holds power in a woman's life, you must stop giving her all of your time, all of your presence, and all of your energy without boundaries. Because a man who is everywhere loses the weight of his presence. But a man who is disciplined, selective, and focused, his absence speaks even louder than his words. A woman cannot crave what is always in front of her. She cannot respect a man who needs to be needed. If your identity is wrapped up in being available to her, you're no longer leading, you're orbiting. And she knows it. She feels it. And she will test how far you'll go, how fast you'll reply, how much of yourself you'll give without her asking. And when you give too much without her earning it, she subconsciously concludes you have nothing better to do and nothing more valuable than her attention. That's not attraction, that's imbalance. You must understand that high-value men are not defined by their pursuit, they are defined by their presence. Not just how often they show up, but how they carry themselves when they do. It's not about playing games, it's about having priorities. A man who is building something cannot always be available. He doesn't reply in seconds. He doesn't drop everything at a text. Not because he's trying to manipulate her, but because his mission matters. He honors his time. And in honoring his time, he teaches her how to honor it too. That's how you command attention without demanding it. That's how you create mystery without faking it. You simply live a life that is too full to revolve around someone who hasn't yet earned a permanent place in it. Every time you respond out of fear that she'll lose interest if you're not always present, you lose a piece of your power. Power comes from knowing that your absence creates desire, that your distance builds curiosity, that your silence invites reflection. And when a woman starts to wonder what you're doing, when she starts to think about you, not because you remind her, but because she feels your intentional space, that's when power shifts. Not in the text you send, not in the compliments you give, but in the boundaries you hold. Because your time is not just time, it is proof of what you value. And when you become a man whose time is scarce, you become a man whose presence is priceless. There is something unmistakably powerful about a man who walks into a room and doesn't chase attention, because attention follows him. He doesn't rush to speak. He doesn't force his presence. He doesn't beg for connection. He doesn't pursue approval like oxygen, and yet you feel him. His presence is felt before he says a word. His body may enter last, but his energy arrives first. That is the power of a man who chooses presence over pursuit. He understands that what you chase often runs from you, but what you become, what you are, draws everything meant for you, including the kind of woman who no longer responds to noise, but to substance. There are two kinds of men in this world. The first is the one who runs after everything he wants, constantly striving, constantly performing, always trying to be seen. The second is the man who stays rooted in who he is, moves with intention, and lets the right things come to him as a result of who he has become. The first man burns out, the second man builds. The first gets temporary attention, the second earns long-term respect. Women are not drawn to desperate movement. They are drawn to focused direction. A man who is deeply rooted in purpose does not chase because he doesn't need to. He is already in motion. His life is already unfolding. He's not waiting for her to give him value. His value is already established, and that unshakable confidence becomes magnetic. When a man has presence, his words carry weight. He doesn't speak more, he speaks less. But what he says, she remembers. When he shows up, it means something. Because he doesn't show up everywhere for everyone. His time is filtered. His energy is protected. His spirit is not available to those who haven't earned access to it. He is not cold. He is not distant. He is focused. And that focus gives birth to gravity. The kind of gravity that pulls the right woman closer, not through pursuit, but through quiet consistency. He is present, not loud. He is clear, not controlling. He is disciplined, not desperate. A woman knows the difference between a man who wants her and a man who wants something bigger than her. And that is what moves her soul. She wants to follow a man who is going somewhere. A man whose vision is alive. A man who is already building something meaningful. That kind of man is not moved by flattery. He's not distracted by beauty. He doesn't chase affection because he is led by purpose. And where there is purpose, there is power. Where there is direction, there is demand. When a man becomes intentional about his life, he becomes irresistible to the kind of woman who isn't just looking to be pursued. She's looking for something to align with, something to believe in. And that man, the one who lives with conviction and doesn't run after every opportunity, is the one who no longer needs to chase anything. To be chosen now, hear me, and hear me clearly. You were not created to chase what you were called to attract. You were not designed to beg for attention, to perform for affection, or to run after something that's not aligned with your destiny. The greatest power a man can ever have over a woman is not in manipulation, games, or dominance. It is in the strength of his presence, the clarity of his purpose, and the discipline of his emotions. You gain power when you stop proving your worth and start living like you know it. You gain influence when you no longer need her to see you, because you see yourself. You gain value when you stop trying to be chosen and begin choosing the life you were born to lead. When a man masters his identity, guards his time, governs his emotions, and walks in vision, he doesn't chase, he draws. He doesn't compete, he sets the standard. He doesn't fear rejection, he trusts divine redirection. And when he meets a woman, he's not looking to be completed. He's not seeking to be saved. He's standing tall, whole, and unshakable. A man who knows that his value is not defined by her response, but by his own reflection. That kind of man changes the atmosphere. That kind of man earns the respect of women and the admiration of men. That kind of man no longer has to chase anyone, because his life is already running towards something far greater. So, I say this as your reminder. Stop chasing, start becoming. Stop reaching, start rising. Stop waiting to be chosen, and choose to become the man whose presence speaks louder than pursuit ever could. Because when you build your character, discipline your spirit, and walk in your divine assignment, the right woman will not be something you run after. She'll be someone who runs into you on the path to purpose. And that, my brothers, is how you gain power over any woman without chasing. Let the world see a new standard of manhood. Let your life do the talking. Now walk in your power.